Okay, so how do you reconcile? You said that you think good and evil will kind of be here forever in this realm. Do you think that there's ever going to be? I mean, how do you reconcile evil? How do we push forward? What do you think is going to happen?
We need the 100th monkey syndrome. We need a critical mass of people awakening to natural law and to truth and to the true cosmology. We need an army of truthers climbing the proverbial mountain back to God. We need a revolution of true mysticism, of this true, the ability to distill knowledge and truth and logos and gnosis out of this matrix that we're living in. So I think that there's no way we're ever going to be able to annihilate or be free of the darkness. It'll be there, but we can tip the scale in our favor, and we can be overwhelmingly brimming with the love of God, and the darkness can just recoil to the dark shadows where it belongs. But look at the Tartaria. One of the things I love about the Tartaria, especially the Millennial Kingdom idea, I'm sure a lot of you guys have flirted with that fascinating conversation happening right now in the last few years in the post-Tartaria scene, is that it's this beautifully poetic notion that there was a 1,000-year reign of Christ, and they built all these beautiful temple complexes, and natural law existed, and they were practicing all kinds of transcendental science with etheric energy and extracting ether, the fifth element, from using all the elementals to extract this beautiful and harness this beautiful radiating energy field, the proverbial fifth element, the source field, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that era was just a 1,000-year reign of beauty and love and compassion and sovereignty and freedom and true anarchy, and everybody was probably glorified beings, brimming with the most unbelievably stunning energy field imaginable.
So we're gonna come up and we can put the right. Oh, look at the tree. You're gonna be actually foam. Okay, so put it in between us right there. Oh, can you come this way so you see the shadow? There we go. I see the tree. Right. Oh, let's move the camera a little bit so we have to get with that tree.
I was like, Watson and Grace out there.
That was a bad choice of words.
Sorry.
By the way, welcome DJ, welcome Nico, welcome Rico, welcome Andrew, and especially welcome.
Oh, hey, Lowry
and Grace. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
And
hello.
I know you've got a great big story to tell us, and I had a really great time with you at Flatober and learned a lot about the way that you get about the earth and how you move around and all this stuff. And you were one of the people that helped that thing fight straight through the hurricane, and really just helped out in a lot of ways. And it just was nice to be around you. And welcome to the show, man.
Thank you.
Don't start at Flat Earth. Start at just waking up.
Well, hold on. Can I start off real quick? Only because
sure.
In the pre-show with the sound check, I honestly asked if he was Amish.
He honestly asked.
Andrew
was like, "Are you Amish?"
You were kidding.
No, he was.
Let's say I'm Amish adjacent. I like the philosophy. I like the ethos. I like the
pie and the bread.
Rebellious lifestyle. I like the anarchist, anti-statist vibe. I like their style. I like their hats and their clothing and their whole vibe.
The innocent little girlies.
So funny.
Nope, sorry.
They've definitely had an influence on me just as a outlaw subculture. I think they're cool. Generally speaking, I mean, I have my problems with them, but there's a lot of things to celebrate about what they're doing.
Well, let's just.
But no, I'm not Amish. I just, admire them.
He's not Amish.
No, that's
he's
cool.
Ish.
Well,
just
you look
ish.
a little bit like
Ish.
in between like Amish and like Jewish, almost with like the Shylock kind of things on the side.
So just to get us started off a little bit, you can do as soft as an opening as you want to, but like bring us up to speed on what you are, what your thing is. Like, when we met you had a van that was packed for like the apocalypse, and you're like, I'm covered, man. I can cruise this way or that way or this way or that way. Just let us know how you got there, and then you can go into the bigger things.
And one little ad lib before he starts, I love that he was like, yeah, I fell in love with Grace and she fits the van.
Yeah.
She's like van sized. But sorry,
Look-
now I'm done. Go. I'm muting.
Like, it's a compact space, and I was kind of running, lone wolf style for like 5 or 6 years, and had this tiny little bed. And the joke was I was always looking for a girlfriend who was just tiny and petite enough to fit inside my tiny bed, and I found one in space. So here we go. So we fit comfortably in that tiny little bed, and it is
Congratulations.
it is a tiny home too. So in a tiny home, I'm kind of highly efficient and organized and meticulous, almost to a default. It's a big part of my identity is to be really organized and efficient with my space. So when she came into the space, she was even just as, or even arguably at times more organized than I am.
Wow.
So we have this incredibly meticulously curated, organized, tiny little home on wheels that we live out of and have been for, as of 2 or 3 days ago, it's been a year. 5 days ago, it was like the year anniversary of living in the van again.
Wow.
So it's been
So
amazing. And,
how did you guys actually meet me? That's what I'm curious about.
It's actually a flat Earth romance. We met at a flat Earth conference, just in passing.
Wow.
Whoa, that's awesome. I want to hear that.
I've been to like 7 or 8 of these conferences. I went to the first international one in 2016 in Raleigh, and I went to the Dallas one, a bunch of the other ones, most of the Oktoberfest ones. Been to a bunch of some anarchy conferences, a lot of the Mark Passio Free Your Mind conferences, and I was just like that guy who liked to go to these radical, academically rogue conferences, and I've been going to them.
Did you meet Mark? Have you talked to Mark?
Oh yeah. I've been to. I saw him 3 of his lectures. I've met him a few times, hung out with him a few times, behind the scenes, like just in passing. But real nice guy, real intense guy. I really like him a lot. I know that
He's not a flat earther at all, right?
Yeah, but I don't care. His the research.
I don't either. I'm just wondering.
At the time when it came out in 2016, I went to the Free Your Mind conference, and everybody thought that the whole entire scene was going to shift in favor of geocentrism. And when he didn't, wasn't sympathetic for that, I was just, I was easygoing and wasn't as judgmental as a lot of the community, just because he was doing so much other work that he didn't jump into it, and I don't judge him for it. I still love.
I don't either. Actually, I don't think it's as important as most of us think it is. I think waking up is the big deal. But
and his, him talking about natural law and a lot of these other topics and stuff. His argument was always like, well, who cares if it's flat right now? Let's just get our freedom first, and then we could talk about cosmology. So that was always a good argument. I do have some funny moments though, being with Max Egan once during that time, and Mark and Max were talking, and I walked up to him, and this one guy walked up to me out of nowhere, and he's like, "Oh my God, this is great! Watson's here. He's gonna like flat bomb these guys." And he tried to bring up flat Earth in front of the two, and I had already known that the house rules, like, don't bring that up around these guys. And I shut him down really fast, and I apologized to Mark and Max for this guy bringing this stuff up. And I was like, I'm not going to, I've got no interest in flat bombing you guys right now. It's just, you guys got enough cool narrative for me to like drill into. So, I've always been respectfully polite about people who were in the community and, who were there, boots on the ground kind of people that you could actually meet and talk to. But I could easily roast other people in the community that were obviously shills or operatives, like I think David Icke and Joe Rogan and some of those guys that were put in place to dismantle and discredit and make fun of it. But that's a whole nother topic. So if I could say where I in bewilderment have wandered, scribe, watched his heart transcend both worlds, and under its shadow now has gone mad with love. So to reel it back to maybe my Genesis story.
Let's do it.
Should we go back to the early days?
Again.
My earliest memory of anything that was affiliated with this alternative media research narrative community was these inadvertent out-of-body experiences I used to have as a little kid. And I just thought that they were normal and were just part of like the dream world. And I would have these really beautifully stunning out-of-body experiences as far back as like 6, 7, 8 years old. And I would lift out of my body and I would fly around, and I thought it was kind of normal. And I would share it with friends, and most people would dismiss it because this was back in the 70s and 80s era. I was born in 71 and 53 now. Just to let you know my my age and my cultural filter or reference point that I have on a lot of these things. So it wasn't until I became a teenager and I started to go out into the world and started discovering like occult bookstores and new age bookstores and esoteric bookstores that I discovered this enormously stunning discipline of astral projection literature. The first book I ever read on it was the famous Robert Monroe's book, his Journeys Out of the Body, which is actually published the same year I was born, in 1971. And then he did a series of books. He did 3 books before he passed away, I think in the early 90s. And he developed this one institute in Richmond, Virginia, called the Institute of Applied Sciences, which was an institute merging science with paranormal studies and research. So it was a place where you could go and talk about the phenomenon of astral projection or out-of-body experience, and they would had this technology called HemiSync, which was a thing that you could use to help facilitate and use as a catalyst to help kind of nudge the spirit out of the body during
Can
sleep.
you say that word again? HemiSync?
HemiSync technology was it was this thing with these 2 tonalities in your ear, and they were slightly out of tune with each other, and it would help nudge the spirit out.
So
And
binaural?
Yeah, it would be in that same. So I ended up literally ravaging every book I could on the topic mainly in the late 80s and early 90s when I was a late teenager and early 20s. And that was my introduction into alternative forbidden fruit, talking about ideas that weren't part of the general cultural zeitgeist. And it kind of established me as an outsider thinker, I think, and also an early development of form of mysticism and spirituality that really gave me empirical and anecdotal evidence and proof that spirit exists independent of the flesh. So I would go into a lot of these, mystical and spiritual and religious circles, always bringing up this phenomenon of this topic of spirit in the context of like, does spirit exist and do we transcend death and topics like that. So what I found is that in Eastern mysticism in particular, they really embrace astral projection. So I found myself at the time in my early 20s really leaning towards a lot of the Eastern mysticism ideas and religious disposition, in part because it was a place that I could freely talk about these ideas. That was a huge, enormous foundation for my belief in spirit and my belief in maybe some of these more complex metaphysical transcendental ideas about what actually is spirit in the context of this material realm that we live in. Around the same time, I discovered in art school, I picked up the larger than life book by William Cooper, Behold a Pale Horse. And I ravaged that. I remember in 1991, I got a copy of it. And you can imagine.
What art school did you go to? Just curious.
Columbus College of Art and Design, Columbus, Ohio. It's the same.
Oh, my friend went there.
Yeah, it was unbelievably exciting and rewarding and challenging school to be in. It was famously and notoriously academically really hard to stay afloat there and to keep up with the pressure to perform in that context. So I really thrived in that environment because there was incredibly intense deadlines and really intense projects, and I was a plus student, passed all my classes, had like a 3.9 GPA, and really thrived in art school. And I was in art school for 3 years. Didn't make it through, ended up moving to Bloomington, Indiana, and got involved in tattooing in 93, and that's been 31 years of tattooing. tattooing now. But when it comes to reel it back to how my genesis story about how I got involved in this, for lack of a better word, the truther community, the alternative media research community, whatever buzzwords that you want to place over that broad canopy that we're all involved in, was really in part the William Cooper book, and then immediately after that I discovered Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM. And at the time there was really no place to find anything interesting in alternative media unless you went to occult bookstores or esoteric books or arcade bookstores or new age bookstores. There would always be kind of like a conspiratorial forbidden fruit section, you know. And it was in that context that I got really into Coast to Coast AM, that I started getting introduced to so many of these different topics. And it was just completely took me by storm. I was like the nerdy kid who loved to talk about anything Art Bell related and anything that had to do with mysticism or spirituality or anything that had to do with alternative media in any context when it came to politics, mysticism, spirituality, artwork, and even in the art field, I was really heavily involved and influenced by Marcel Duchamp and the Dadaist movement, the Surrealist movement, the Absurdist movement from the 20s up through the 60s, the performance art scene in the 60s with some of the luminaries from that era. So when I was at art school, I got introduced to the avant-garde art scene, which was really exciting. And in the context of being in art school, I got introduced to the whole entire canopy and cornucopia of culture that's affiliated with Bohemia, underground Bohemia, when it comes to like cool music from 60s jazz to world music and experimental music and noise music and every genre of cool music that you can think of that you generally associated with underground Bohemia. I was right in the trenches of all that stuff. So culturally speaking, I was being bombarded in a plethora and a cornucopia of all kinds of complex influences that really kind of gave me a really strong foundation for what was to come. Really, I think there's so hard to kind of get a handle on all this stuff. But what happened when I got into tattooing was that tattooing really, really took a hold of my entire creative intrigue and my creative space. So I ended up focusing pretty much 100% on tattooing and art for, I don't know, it must have been for up to a decade or so. And I really tuned out of a lot of this alternative research until from, I think, like late 90s, I started tuning out and really focusing heavily on tattooing and art and illustration and just being an artist. And in that space, there's not a lot of room, and it's not really culturally that welcome to be too outsider when you're just trying to make a living as an artist. So though I did keep up with a lot of the music scene and was heavily involved in music and literature and things like that in general, the art scene, I really kind of took a break at the time from the underground alternative media scene until I had a really good friend of mine that I used to hire him, and we would do tattoo trades for painting. He was a professional painter, and I would have him come in and paint studios and paint my house and just do painting projects. His nickname is actually Metal Mark. He's a really cool. Speaking of metal, I got a lot of metalhead friends, and I'm not a metalhead, but I love some metal, especially if it's live. I'm definitely no stranger to a good metal show. But his nickname was Metal Mark, so he's pretty metal. And he was so metal that he was brave enough to talk about and dig into this underground research scene. And he blew my mind when I used to paint with him, because he would bring up Alex Jones at the time and David Icke and David Wilcock and all what was on the vanguard of the, let me think really quick. It would have been like the 2007 scene. So, maybe we're talking
Dolores Cannon and David Icke and who else was there? There was a lot of them.
The one that really took me by storm was watching the Loose Change, the what I consider now to be controlled opposition of the 9/11 narrative.
Actually, same here. And by the way, I said I was still asleep, but 9/11 was probably my first.
I think it's a lot of people. I think that I've seen is like that sort of Loose Change woke some people up, but then there's so much spin in all of that. But it actually, what it did was it just opened up a door in your brain. Like if they did this here, they could have done this on all number of fronts, right?
Well,
Is that
kind of
where
like
you're
what
at?
happened with COVID, man. Like, I used to be the token conspiracy guy at Tesla, and now people come up to me going, "Hey, what do you think this actually means?" Like, I'm getting respect now. It's really weird. But go ahead with your story.
Well, the loose change, like all of us, took me by storm. I vividly remember sitting down at the kitchen table one morning when I was probably supposed to be doing a tattoo drawing, get ready for the day, and I watched it at like 9 a.m. And I was just completely dumbfounded, speechless, blew me away. And then I immediately was like, well, I used to have a foundational relationship to these type of topics, going back to my Art Bell days. And I immediately got back into Coast to Coast AM and was like, I wanted to update myself on Coast to Coast AM. And then immediately I threw myself into the front lines of devouring everything and anything I could get my hands on. The other one at the time, obviously Zeitgeist was a big one for a lot of us. And but my favorite one was the Esoteric Agenda and Chematica, a 2-part documentary, which just completely blew me away.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Esoteric Agenda.
I've literally watched them probably 4 or 5, maybe even more than that times.
Easily.
Like, it was blue. Like even every time I watch it, I'm just like, wow. Like, we should go back and watch those too.
Well, I have a collection here of I collect data. I'm also like a data miner. I collect an insane amount of content. I've got about 3.8 terabytes of data I've collected in the alternative media research, and I'd love to somehow share this with people or put it on somewhere. Cool. Most of the stuff that I've collected is you can't even find it online. But just to ravage through a bunch of the stuff during that era from 2007, really up until I think about 2000. This would have been the second wave for me would have been from 2000. The first wave was in the 90s with Art Bell and William Cooper and all that stuff. So the second wave would have been 2007 to 2014, right before the Flat Earth stuff hit. And then from the Flat Earth up until present is like phase 3. So there's like in these different sections. But here's just a collection of documentaries that I have. 11th Hour, 77 Ripple Effect, the whole Loose Change 3-part series, which is Controlled Opposition. I'm a Judy Wood guide now. It was all direct energy weapons. It wasn't thermite. A Noble Lie, Accessing the Mystic. Here we go. Age of Deceit, Part 1 and 2. Age of Stupid. The Aldous Huxley stuff. Agenda. I don't know if you know. Alternative 3-part series. The American Dream one. Inconvenient Truth, Tooth, which is a play on Inconvenient Truth, which is that also Controlled Opposition from the Gore guy. Architects of Control, which is a 3-part series. A bunch of stuff on ayahuasca, Beautiful Truth. Let's see here. A bunch of big pharma stuff, Bigger Question, 4-part series. Bunch of stuff on I've got 7 documents on chemtrails and geoengineering. Codex Alimentarius was a great one, the Ian Crane one. The Collapse one, Michael Ruber, which I think again was controlled. A lot of this stuff is controlled opposition when you look at it through the filter of geocentrism and Tartaria. Collective Evolution here. Commanding Heights was a good one, 3-part series. Consumed, Control Room, Corporation 1 and 2, Cosmic Giggle. God, they just keep going on and on. And
you're only in D.
Yeah, I'm only in D here. There's a whole document about the drug years, which I think is all controlled opposition with the fake hippie movement. A whole section on EMPs and I got a bunch of stuff on entheogens. We could talk about ayahuasca too at length. Here I got the Esoteric Agenda, Chematica one, Ethos. Here we go. The Farmageddon one.
That was a good one.
Food.
Hey, who's the author that did the whole thing on the hippie movement?
Dave McGowan.
Yes. What? That's a rabbit hole from hell.
Yeah, I've got every document he ever did. I've got all the stuff he did right up until they killed him. I think they assassinated him with the same.
Yeah. Who's the guy that took over? I've actually talked to him. I think his name's Mark Devlin. Mark Devlin. Actually, I talked to him online. He's agreed to do the show.
We know him.
Yeah, him and I were table mates at the 2016 Free Your Mind conference. We hit it off like 2 old friends, and
he was at Oktoberfest last year.
Yeah, he took.
He's agreed to do the show, but he's kind of like the
he's in England.
The singer Norma Jean has said yes to, but there's a lot of people that's agreed to come.
Yeah, Mark Devlin's fantastic. He's a sweetheart, super smart. And he took the reins after Dave McGowan was killed off. And but Dave McGowan's best interview was when he was on the Caravan to Midnight, and he did this 4-hour expose on the Boston bombing, which was mind blowing.
Oh,
Hey,
text me a link to that.
Watson, Crumb wants to ask. I have a question for the guest. What was your favorite '90s sitcom and why?
Ooh.
I have a blackout on 90s pop culture. I was in the underground scene so deeply and so entrenched in the underground 90s era that I literally did not have watch TV or have anything to do with pop culture. I don't know anything about pop music, about movies or anything. And actually Grace finds it absolutely hilarious because these really horribly shitty 90s pop tunes will come up and I'll be like, oh, this sounds horrifying. And she's like, song. And I'm like, no, thank God I wasn't, abused with that stuff. But I don't know. I could talk at length about all kinds of 90s underground culture when it comes to literature and music and poetry and philosophy and anything rogue and outlaw culture. I could speak at length. But when it comes to pop culture, I never watched a sitcom in the 90s. I didn't watch movies. I didn't listen to pop music. I don't know anything about the 90s pop scene. Thank God. Because when I do hear about it, a lot of it's just absolutely horrifying.
Even flow.
You are awesome. I'm loving that you just are reminding of an organized wizard who's keeping tabs on all these important things.
Totally.
And I thank God for your gifts and for your kind of thought process to know to organize things, to document, and to be on the lookout. But I do have a question. What does it mean that you were in the 90s underground? What does that mean exactly? How underground? How?
So in every generation, there's a subculture. There's an underground bohemia. There's something that's not mainstream, midstream, but it's like what do you love?
Sitting in the waiting room.
The metaphor. It's not literally underground. It's like
I know.
Fringe culture.
We're not talking about like tunnels.
Yeah.
It isn't a Hobbit house. Okay, guys, it's a legit question, though, right? I mean, what does it mean?
It is, yes.
Like, I know the underground club scene from the early 2000s, but I don't know what you were meaning. So I think the audience.
So what I would have been maybe referencing would have been
Detroit raves.
No, I was not into the rave scene. I was into more of the underground indie folk rock and roll revival of anything that was more, I don't know. For instance, one of my favorite labels ever was Drag City, which was the underground folk rock label that was based out of Chicago. Bands like Bonnie Prince Billy, Will Oldham, Palace Brothers, the Silver Jews. Like, for instance, what's happening now with the culture, the rise of country music has become this huge phenomenon in pop culture. Well, in the 90s, underground or country music was in complete remission. No one wanted anything to do with it. But in the underground scene, it was thriving. The torchbearers in the 90s were amazing. Some of the best music now, or some of the Uncle Tupelo, for instance, some of the amazing country music at the time, what happened in the 90s. And you can go back to the 50s, 60s, 70s. It went into total remission in the 80s and 90s, where it wasn't even on the cultural landscape. But in the underground subculture of the music scene and the art scene, there was unbelievably interesting, cool stuff happening that no one knew about, that to me, to this day, towers over anything that Beyonce is going to do with country music. Like, I could speak at length about
What a blessing to be kind of removed from the pop culture scene and immersed in what you're saying sounds like quality music, quality people, and you were learning about how, why don't you tell us, what were you learning most about besides music and art? Was there something else that was capturing your mind?
There was a label called AK Press that was based out of Oakland, California, based in the Mission District. And AK Press was the kind of the vanguard of alternative, radical, political literature, all the Howard Zinn stuff, the Noam Chomsky. I got heavily into politics during that era too. And I think at the time, a lot of that stuff was legitimate commentary on, political infrastructure and critical analysis of what was happening, in the political arena. Though I do think a lot of that stuff's been compromised and co-opted, when it comes to fake anarchist movements like, what are those clowns out in Seattle? I can't think of their name.
What, Antifa?
I think they're called Nirvana.
Oh, the band?
No.
Wait.
What about?
No,
Okay, there's a lot of fake protests. I understand what you're talking about. Like there used
so
to
but
be
the point being, at the time, like
controlled opposition.
I was into all kinds of esoteric literature, got into all of the mystical, arcane literature, Theosophy Society, and Blavatsky, and a lot of the Steiner literature. And now I look back in hindsight and I think that was just, maybe preparing us for this crazy New Age movement and this, anti-Christianity.
That's the same thing as the Order of the Golden Dawn, right?
Yeah, all of it's the same thing. I'm very suspicious that I could have got gate kept at the time and kind of fell into like a honeypot or honey trap or whatever.
Sure.
In hindsight, but at the time it was interesting, fascinating stuff. Mainly in part because I was coming from the perspective of having these wildly inadvertent, unbelievably mind-blowing out-of-body projection, phenomenon that was like kind of my gift that was given to me. I actually really learned how to cultivate and to talk about at length and to philosophize and to actually delineate what was happening to the extent that I could have probably taught courses on how to ignite that and activate that in any practitioner that was interested in the phenomenon. So my whole mystical perspective was coming from, how do we explain this out of body? How do we explain astral projection? So some of the only arcane literature at the time was coming from the Theosophy Society, and some of that stuff that was from the turn of the century, from the spiritualist movement, from Blavatsky to Steiner, all the way up through
Helena.
You could probably start a cult or a church. You'd be really good at that.
Once we get past your story, on the second half, will you bring that back up so I can talk about that whole thing?
Cults?
After we get to your story and segue, I would like to talk about some of the sleep stuff, the astral projection and sleep
100%.
paralysis. I don't want to interrupt your story for that.
And I want to know how this all relates, or does it give you some insight looking back into how they were hiding the earth and the shape and more puzzle pieces that we might not be aware of that you have in your mind because of your background of how the earth is flat and geocentric? Anything from that era of your life?
Absolutely. So the great leveler of all of this stuff was when the geocentric, the postmodern revival of the geocentric cosmology was catapulted into the front lines of this modern era that we're living in. And you find out really quickly that there was a revival, there was an attempt in the 50s, an attempt in the 1920s, and the turn of the century, and the 1880s. With all these different eras, there was an attempt to push back against heliocentrism, and then it got crushed and dismissed. The gatekeepers with different World War wars that would come in, that would get people in survival mode, or they would appeal to the authority of the gatekeepers of science, and they would get made fun of or ridiculed and pushed aside. And so what the geocentrism dramatically changed my entire perspective on a lot of the stuff that I used to put value in and hold dear to me as part of my complex, spiritual and political and social identity that I developed. And all of a sudden, the entire house of cards came crashing down. And some of the huge luminaries in the scene, like even Art Bell, and David Icke, and Alex Jones, and they all became operatives. Even, this might be shocking to a lot of people, but even the guy who wrote the 12th Planet, what was his name? Zachariah Stitchin. I think all these guys were operatives that were controlled opposition place. Even Joe Rogan. I think Joe Rogan is a total gatekeeper.
He's a tool. Sorry.
He's put in place to give you 80% truth and 20% disinformation. So he'll get you thinking he's us, because he'll talk about psychedelics and smoking weed with Elon Musk and talking about AI and all these cool, interesting stuff.
I would love to argue with him. I would love to argue with Joe Rogan. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I would love to argue with him.
Not that he's not a smart guy, and he has a lot of interesting shows that I could tip my hat to at times, with a lot of the interviews he does. But when it came to geocentrism and flat Earth, and Joe Rogan was literally charged with no doubt, hey, you have to make fun of this movement. You're a major cultural influence here. Everyone respects you. Anybody who's into alternative media is like a Joe Rogan disciple. And any of my hippie friends, or anybody who was like in slightly even remotely adjacent to alternative media, would bring up, oh, do you like Joe Rogan? I'm like, yeah, well, Joe Rogan's an operative, because he's literally making fun of the flat Earth movement, and he's making us all look like idiots. And then hippie stoner friends would be like, yeah, the flat Earth is stupid because Joe Rogan said it was stupid. It's like, well, there you go. That's exactly what he was designing.
That's interesting. Are you following how many of his friends, such as Jim Brewer, Sam Tripoli, Eddie Bravo, are out flat earthers, but they're kind of regulars on his show? Do you find that interesting?
I haven't kept up with him in the last few years, but at the time, it was fascinating how, say, for instance, Eddie Bravo came out of the proverbial gates kicking and screaming with all his guns out, just slamming down, wanting to talk about it. And Joe Rogan just was, kept shutting him down or dismissing him or telling him to, keeping him quiet or kind of corralling him a little bit. I think that he might allow some of that stuff to happen, but really when it comes down to it, Joe Rogan is the voice of authority. And if Joe Rogan says it's stupid and that the earth is not flat, then most people are going to appeal to Joe Rogan and not to Eddie Bravo.
Right, no, absolutely. And he even in his most recent Netflix special said that the only time you can use the word retarded is in reference to a flat earther.
Absolutely.
And Mark Sargent made a response video, not that Joe called him out directly, but it was pretty much indirectly to anyone who's making flat earth commentary is retarded. And so it's interesting that you've been following and can speak on that. Is there any other kind of evidence that you've come across of how that system works? Like, there's got to be someone in charge that's disseminating these orders and picking these people. I mean, what would you say is your clue into how that world operates?
Well, like with anything, the old adage, follow the money. How much is the guy making? $25 million a year as of 5 years ago. I heard it's up to $500,000 a show now. So the guy's been bought out. Everyone's got to to a certain extent, will sell out if the price is right. I think they knew that he could potentially be a really popular podcast host, and they offered him a price he couldn't resist. And they said, okay, well, you can talk about 80% of these cool, interesting stuff that's gonna seduce the most of the alternative media people that are interested in outsider ideas. And then, but when it comes to AI, well, you better be talking favorably about artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things and the rise of AI in Silicon Valley. We want Elon Musk on there. I want you to smoke weed with him, and I want you to celebrate, the rise of AI. We want you to dismiss and make fun of flat earthers, and we want you to talk about all this cool shit that that they would consider in the alternative conspiratorial community cool and interesting and outsider. But they don't give a fuck about what you think about most topics, but they do want you to celebrate and to romance and to herald in the rise of AI.
And he's constantly saying that he thinks humans are the caterpillars that weave the cocoon for AI to emerge out of this as the new form of what humanity is. So he is pushing evolution on a next level, and I see that as well. And so I think it's interesting, Watson, that it sounds like, and it seems like maybe you're very well versed in how that whole part of life that a lot of us we consider the veil, or how the matrix maybe operates on a level that I'm not being exposed to, but I see. And I mean, it's interesting how I have a similar trajectory as you. I didn't trust 9/11. I remember seeing it with my own eyes and not believing the narrative, and then coming across the same book by Bill Cooper, Behold the Pale Horse, and kind of there's so many parallels that flat earthers are exposed to, and then you're just kind of adding another layer for us out there and all of our viewers to really understand how detail oriented these people are and how precise their plan must be, because that's what I'm picking up on. Would you say that that's accurate?
Absolutely. I mean, they're highly intelligent, unbelievably sophisticated group of parasites that have an ability to plan ahead and organize together. I think they're an absolutely daunting and impressive diabolical force to attend with. And until you can really get your hands around, or not to get your hands around, but get your thoughts around the fact that they're highly organized, incredibly efficient, incredibly intelligent, and have all the money and all the power and all the land and are in control of everything, that and these are the same pricks that arguably took down Tartary, the same parasites.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah, and I think ultimately one of the darkest lies you can tell is a truth bullet mixed with lies. It's the most destructive thing you could ever do to anybody, because it ultimately scrambles your brain. You're like, that's true. Yep. And then there's something of deception in there. And
and they gave us Stockholm syndrome.
One of the things that I learned in the 90s is I used to hang out with a lot of Satanists, hardcore Satanists, like card-carrying members of Anton LaVey's Church of Satan. I actually worked with a Satanist for 5 years. It's one of the reasons why I appreciate Mark Passio's work. And also, as a caveat too, I'm very Christian friendly, and I consider myself an esoteric Christian mystic. The fact that I'm Christian sympathetic and I consider myself an esoteric Christian is in part of rhetoric that I get from Mark Passio, because an esoteric Christian is an arcane Christian who's talking about some, maybe ideas based in natural law and cosmic law and God's law in the context of, say, of a Christian ethos or Christian, mysticism. Sometimes if you use terms like mysticism, they immediately think you're a New Age pagan, and it's like, oh God, they just
Right.
Do you know spiritualism? I think I'm a spiritualist.
I think we all are. If you believe in spirit, then you're a spiritualist.
But spiritualism, like the religion, the spiritualist religion.
Well, that goes to Blavatsky and all this stuff from the turn of the century, the spiritualist movement.
Yeah, it dates back to her.
One of the things
I think that's dangerous territory, but that's just my opinion.
Well, what's your relationship then to the scriptures? How do you view them?
Before we get to that, I want to just put a little close out this one thing. When I had to work with this one Satanist for 5 years, and I knew a lot of Satanists in the 90s, and I was never even remotely affiliated with or sympathetic to Satanist ideology or Satanist philosophy. I actually found them intriguing, and I would ask questions and try to get them to defend their narrative so I could learn more about what they were talking about.
Right.
And the more I dug into, the more horrified I was about that philosophy. I also hung out with a lot of atheists and agnostics, and I never once was even remotely an atheist, agnostic, or a Satanist anyway. I was always defending this idea that I had these inadvertent experiences as a young kid with my spirit flying out of my body. So I would always appeal to, at the time, it was more like Eastern mysticism was the only place that I could find literature that would talk about, in a positive way, the fact that spirit might exist independent of the body and astral projection, legitimate phenomenon, etc.
The phenomenon of it, yes.
Is that these Satanists that I hung out with were unbelievably smart, well-read intellectuals of the highest order. If you wanted to really impress yourself, sit across the table of really an academically well-read and researched Satanist.
Absolutely, and they're super open-minded, accepting. Absolutely. No, I get it. I get the appeal. I was never a Satanist, but I get the appeal.
The true philosophy is very, very academic. It's very serious. It's very studious. It's very focused. It's highly disciplined. And this is the type of philosophy.
It's clever. It's super clever.
And these are the people, the rulers overseeing the parasites, rulers, the whoever they are. Hey, whoever they them are. I just thought that was a funny one. That's a funny book. They them. Anyway,
Jesuits.
Okay, wait a second. All right, so.
That's all. So.
Okay, so I have a question, really quick, and this is probably not. I just realized I was raised Catholic. But then apparently the Catholic Church is Satanism. So does that make me a Satanist?
No, not at all.
I wasn't indoctrinated into that. I made my Holy Communion and ate the blood of Christ and drank the blood of Christ and ate the body of Christ. I don't even want to go down the church rabbit hole right now. I got lots of church stories.
I could definitely
sorry, buddy. Sorry.
And this note of Tartary, years ago when that one document came out about Research Tartary, that one woman who had that 8-part series that came out, I think in 2018 or something, and she was bringing up the idea that Catholicism actually was co-opted and misrepresented by the parasites who took down Tartaria, and that they might be representing the true philosophy or spiritual backbone of Tartary, in the context that all of those Catholic saints and stuff are painted on, in a lot of these temple structures. And a lot of the beautiful artwork is all based in, true, like Catholic saints with glorified and body. Everyone knows that document, the Research Tartary one that came out, 6-7 years ago. But that one was a mind blower. So the guy on Understanding Conspiracy talks at length about how he's on the fence now about how whether or not Catholicism was a controlled misrepresentation of true Christianity, because a lot of the Christian research community has been going after Catholicism as long as I can remember. And I definitely grew up Catholic, and then I decided I wasn't a Catholic, and I was just more Christian adjacent because of all the creepy stuff happening at the Vatican and the pedophilia and all the creepy shit coming out of there, and how the Catholicism is misrepresented.
It's so dark.
But at the same time, they could have co-opted and misrepresented it so that we wouldn't peer under that. And maybe the Tartaria era was a mix between, true Christian and Catholicism blended together into some beautiful, stunning.
Like they mess it all up in the Byzantine era or something like that.
Yeah, and they just soil the water so that we wouldn't look into it or would think that it was satanic or something.
That auditorium that looks like a serpent on the inside and outside of the Vatican. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's the creepiest shit ever. I mean, you could spend all day talking about the creepy Vatican and the creepy Catholicism. I mean, that serpent head inside that. Oh.
Yeah, and the outside looks like a snake too.
All the things that you were learning about that you said you're kind of. I'm looking at the show tonight. Are the 3 stages of your life? You said you had the part where you're the underground scene and you're learning very esoteric, belief systems, surrounded by people that were Satanists, inquisitive with them. So how does that era shape what you believe today? And whenever we want to get to that, I would love to know.
Holy crap!
I think
you're
really,
awesome,
if I was
man.
to pull the aperture out really far, because I think one of the things I'm attempting to do is climb up this mountain of lux, this mountain of light, back to God. I'm trying to get close to heaven. I've kind of built my own Tower of Babel within my temple complex, and what I see at the top of this tower as I'm trying to ascend back to heaven up Jacob's ladder, and I'm trying to gaze upon the gates of heaven. Is I see, in essence, I see these two ancient forces of nature. This incredibly good, beautifully stunning place of infinite love and care, and wisdom and beauty. When you think of the essence of Christ and what He embodied, when you think of the essence of, like maybe say true Christian theology, or when you look at the essence of true mysticism or true divine inspiration, you have this unbelievably beautiful radiating ball of light and care and hope and empathy. And then you have this incredibly dark, diabolical, evil, insidious energy field. And I think in part, if you were to if the whole material realm was to dissolve and you were to take your heroic dose of ayahuasca and you were to commune with the spirit realm and you were to dissolve this realm, and when you exist in that space, there's these two forces. There's light and there's dark. There's good. There's bad. There's darkness and there's love. There's love and fear. So I've done ayahuasca 20 times now, and the only way that I could ever actually get a handle on it was to show my allegiance and show my discipline to God, to the Creator, to love, to care. And in that realm, I would have these Kundalini experiences where I would be flooded with the divine, energy coming from the highest realms, the apex of creation. And I would see the darkness around me, attempting to seduce me and to lure me in. And I would basically say, "You're not welcome here." There's a huge line in the sand. And I would channel my Saint Michael, my warrior ethos. And it really, in that realm, you have to be a warrior of light, of love, of care, of God, of Christ.
That's a great segue to head into the second hour. We're gonna play a couple of videos and then excuse me, and then let's dig back into this stuff, guys. Take a break.
Yeah.
Seriously, take a break, because this is deep shit, and we will join you guys in like 5-7 minutes, something like that. We got DJ Curious. We're happy to have you
DJ Curious.
Hey, what's up?
And Rico, Nico, Andrew, and tonight's guest is Watson and Grace. And you guys have been telling us some amazing stories. And I think we've got a nice little foundation. We can continue in the second hour. I want you to continue going.
Hey, actually, I have another
Watson.
question. Hold on,
And
real
Watson.
quick.
Oh God.
Okay, tell me what I'm
Watson.
doing.
I
I
asked
wear
you-
my sunglasses at night.
And that was
I like
Media
it.
Bear.
Yeah,
Media
bitch.
Bear is awesome.
I'm going back to
Well, Watson,
I wear my
actually
face
got a little
mask.
bit of like,
I wear my face mask in my car. Media Bear, man. Have you met that guy, Media Bear?
Oh yeah,
we
dude.
met him a lot of
Amazing.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so fucking funny.
He's
we
as
get him
punk
on sometime?
as they come.
Is it possible?
That guy is pure out, like absurdist punk. He's the torchbearer of real, true punk media. That guy is
Absolutely. Have you
he's
actually
cool,
watched one
dude.
of his shows where he's like being himself?
He's
Have you-
phenomenal. The guy's
He's so level-headed.
yeah, he's cool. Me and Chief Crow and him hung out at one of the conferences, and man, I
that was like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, he was one of the coolest guys I've ever met. I'm not saying that lightly. That guy, Media Bear Bowls. So, Bonnie, go lay down.
Bonnie wants to say hi. Come here.
Bonnie wants to say hi. Come here, Bonnie, real quick. Bonnie.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, Bonnie, there she is.
Oh my
Hi,
God.
Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie. Who's my good girl? Who's such a good girl? How's my Bonnie?
Wagging tail right there.
My name's Rico.
Hey, no dogs love you.
Bonnie, you're such
No.
a good girl.
She seemed really restless. She
I
jumped
love
around.
her.
Wants to go
Because she
for it.
wants attention. She's like, I was a human and I want to be a human again. So please,
I've never seen a
Starseed.
dog.
She's my reincarnation of a bodhisattva Buddhist monk.
Okay.
that came to
You're-
this, realm.
You're part
She-
of the first wave of starseeds, okay? Like you're part of the first wave of starseeds, and I really like the Heisenberg hat with, the Walter White not shaven look when he was in the cab.
Holy
Like I
shit.
think it's the Heisenberg hat is badass.
I
But,
bought
like-
my dad that hat for his birthday last year.
It's a
My
Heisenberg
dad's-
hat.
Right here.
Yeah, you can actually buy
Did
it.
you come on?
Check out what I
Yeah.
did to it. You can't
Love
see-
it.
No, I decorated it with this 12.
Of course you did. Of course you
I've
did.
seen it. Yeah.
It took me the guy gifted it to me, and then I spent from 11 o'clock at night till 11 the next morning. I spent 12 hours wrapping it in wax thread and turning
Stitching.
it. I stitched
Give me a thumbs up, Lowry, if you see
So not
that.
only are you a tattoo artist, you're a milliner. You
and check out
are.
check out these crosses I have on the side to protect
cool.
me from the demons.
Hey, what state are you in? Because I need
Alex,
some more
look at
tattoos.
the chat.
Right, right now we just happen to be in
Oh,
Maine.
you guys are in Maine. Where
Yeah,
in
we
Maine?
did a takedown run. We were all over the place, but we just made it to Maine. A week ago or so. And
Rico's doing the.
Wait, where in Maine? Are
really
you up at like?
Where?
I want to hear the rest of this story from you guys. You go now. Everybody else mute up. We'll talk in private chat. Go.
In response to what the DJ was saying earlier on how I was able to synthesize and distill, 30 to 40 years of walking this spiral path up this mountain of light back to God, which is kind of what we're all attempting to do. I really like this romantic kind of poetic notion that if you can distill it down to its essence, because we're all alchemists in a way and we're all distilling spirit. So if we could distill it down to its essence, I think that underneath the entire veil of this material realm, we're living on a metaphysical, transcendental, spiritual realm. And with me having anecdotal and empirical, knowledge, Gnosos, Logos in that realm, and I could speak with authority by gazing upon that, not only in my own, ability at astral projection, but also with my time doing the sacred entheogens with DMT, psilocybin, and THC in the magical, enchanted, fantastic realm of, say, ayahuasca. In that space, I literally gazed upon the essence of this big riddle, which are these two forces at play. And in that realm, you have to show allegiance to either the light or the dark, either to love or fear. And if there's literally just two choices, it's that easy. And I think one of the reasons why we're reincarnated and manifested into this realm during this short season of Satan, to reference the Millennial Kingdom narrative, and I think we are living in a short season right now, is that we're being presented with the free will to decide between light and dark, between a demon or Christ. And I've shown with the utmost enthusiasm and conviction that I'm in allegiance with Christ and with Logos and Providence and the angelic realm that exists, up in the heavenly space. And if in that space, when you do show that allegiance and you say that I'm under the authority of God and not under the authority of the darkness, then you literally get filled with the unbelievably stunning, cascading, fractaling, infinite kundalini light that fills your whole temple complex. And you feel, for lack of a better word, I know that in Christian circles, you can't use concepts like Christ conscious because they all of a sudden throw the baby out with the bathwater and think that you're some kind of new age pagan. But I really do believe that we have the ability to be glowing with the light of Christ. And that whole idea is just in the trappings of language, it's hard to present these ideas in language form, but you literally, in that space, when you do show allegiance to God, the Creator, to love and to care and hope, etc., you're brimming with the most infinite love for all life, for all beings, for all of creation, for this beautiful Garden of Eden that we're gazing upon, which I do believe that the Garden of Eden is not only here in spirit form and on the metaphysical planes of existence, but also here in the material realm. We're living in a beautifully stunning Garden of Eden right now that's been co-opted and taken over and poisoned by these parasites at the helm that have turned this into a dark night of the soul for the human condition. So we're literally living in and brimming with the love of God and the love of Christ and the love of care, that forbidden sacred concept of care that's been taken out of it. And now they weaponize apathy, and they have at the Bohemian Grove, they have the cremation of care. Weaving spiders come not near.
Let me ask you a question.
As the weaving spiders. We are the weaving spiders. What?
Yeah, and let me ask you a question. And I think this is really important. It's like there's a lot of folks out here in FE land that didn't go through religion, didn't go through churches or dogma or anything. We weren't necessarily atheists, but we just didn't really care. We were just like me. I'm just going to use me as an example. I was like, I'm a musician. I didn't go to church. I didn't have any of that in my life. And only since FE have I realized we're living, it looks very much like we live in a design system. Like, what would you say to all the people out there that never did have church or a priest or a preacher or something or anything else, that when we're like the lost children, the people that are out there, we didn't know if there was a God or not, or if there was anything. We were just like, we're just here. We just got dropped down here, and now we're, like me, I was just a musician, whatever. What do you say to that?
Well, that's why I consider myself more of a syncretist than a Christian mystic. So the idea and I'm going to come back to what you're saying here, but one of the ideas with syncretism is this idea that you can have a lot of different mystical, spiritual, and philosophical ideas all existing in the same space, and you can pull them all together and distill and amalgamate a broader worldview or a realm view to try to get a handle on what enchanted space we're living in. So with that, when I became a flat earther in 2014, 2015, I literally exploded with this unbelievable wonder of this mystical realm that we're living in. So I think by default, the geocentric flat earth, flat realm cosmology ignites a sense of God within you, and you see the Creator afoot. So one of the things I love to tell people, especially some of my atheist friends or my heliocentrist naysayers that are constantly trying to debate and appeal to authority and appeal to ridicule and appeal to Joe Rogan and any of these gatekeepers of scientism, is to just look at the realm itself in its purest form without any preconceived notions of what we've been taught, any of your normalcy biases. And one of the greatest examples is to look up into the night sky as a beautifully ancient, stunning, transcendental sky clock, comparable to the metaphor if you were to find a Victorian timepiece in the woods.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I think it's really important. I think in a lot of the common experiences, at least that I've been finding out, are that the world is brand new. It's brand new now. And across all broad spectrums of religions or whatever you think happens after you die or whatever, everybody says the same thing. It feels like I'm in a brand new world and everything is new. Do you feel that?
Yeah, you're awakened to the true beauty of this unbelievably stunning world, the realm that we live in. It's all so new. It's feel like I've kind of lifted the veil and I'm living in some enchanted fantasy novel. It's like Lord of the Rings actually wasn't science fiction; it was science fact. And steampunk literature wasn't some marriage of Victorian ideas with free energy technology or esoteric technology.
Hey, real quick, did you hear what J.R.R. Tolkien's son said about him getting 3 months of full privilege of Vatican library files, and he came out 3 months later and wrote Lord of the Rings.
Wow. No, I didn't
Yeah.
know. But I think Lord of the Rings was probably closer, more of a history book than fantasy.
I do too, and I don't want to ruin your
Lord of the rings, one ring rules them all, big ice wall ring.
Middle Earth. Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to bring up in the context of DJ's inquiry is the fact that we live in the most stunningly beautiful realm imaginable. But whether we like it or not, this dark, evil force has probably been with us since time immemorial, since the first breath of life. And that force is going to be here forever. It has been deep into our past and will be deep into the future. And there's nothing that we can do. We will never, ever destroy the darkness. We will never get rid of this insidious, diabolical evil that's overseeing us and ruling over us right now, and ruling this dark night of the soul, or this short season that we're in, with all the creepy deceptions afoot. But what we do have the free will to decide is, who are you going to show allegiance to? Do you show allegiance to the dark?
The dark or the light?
Or you show allegiance to the
The
light?
love or the fear?
When I got into the flat earth in 2015 era, and I started really meeting true Christian researchers, like say Rob Skiba, for instance, one of my favorites, rest in peace. We all miss you, Rob. That he was one of the first Christians I met who didn't care that I was this wild kind of philosophical, kind of spiritual truther outlaw guy. In the flat earth Christian research community, I was completely welcome, open arms to have all of my wild notions, but I think in part because they could tell that that my heart was radiating with love and care for all of humanity, and that my intentions were true and sincere, and that I did have maybe the essence of some of these of the ethos of, say, Christ, and some Christian ethos embedded within my energy field. So I found over the years that some of my favorite friends are hardcore Christians, and they could spin a yarn around the Christian mythology and ethos more so than I can. And I'm more of an intuitive kind of arcane Christian, I guess. And a lot of people are biblical scripturalists. They like to read the book a lot, and they like to recite.
What do you mean arcane?
Arcane just means mysterious, esoteric, occult, hidden, under the veil. It's not used.
It's kind of like in the hero's journey. It's like that, hidden wizard kind of person that just swoops in and gives you all this insight.
So, for instance, apocalypse doesn't mean end times. It means the great unveiling of knowledge. So here we're in the midst of we're in the midst of an apocalypse. It's not the end of time. Anarchy doesn't mean chaos and destruction. It means freedom and sovereignty. The
whole punk rock thing.
Just racism. It means it's this beautiful ancient symbol that has an unbelievable, beautifully poetic history to it, and now you associate with neo-fascist white.
The whole punk rock movement and the Sex Pistols anarchy was like rebellion.
Right.
That was done by design. People hear anarchy and they think chaos. They don't
Exactly.
understand what true.
Arcane, in the spirit of what you're saying, how these symbols get misrepresented and how they invert and subvert beautiful truths. They get the cross and they invert it and they make it an upside down cross, for instance. They do that with all symbols, all these symbols, and they invert them and they misrepresent them. So the idea of arcane just means hidden, a mysterious, veiled. Just like esoteric or occult doesn't mean evil, demonic, new age, pagan. It just means hidden.
But you touched on a lot of things. Can we pause for take a breath, everyone?
In through the nose, out
Okay.
the mouth.
Yeah, deep inhale, nice long
You
exhale.
wiggle at the end. Deep breath.
You're a wealth of knowledge, yeah.
Caw.
Smile and giggle.
You're a wealth of knowledge, and you bring up a lot of great points. Number one, I love that you said that we're in the most intricate, beautiful timepiece, and and I look at it the same way. We're in the greatest location for God's greatest creation, and meaning humans, but above all, the entire earth and everything that's here, the diversity, right? And we're up against a system, a veil, that's trying to tell us that it's scarcity and that it's things are random and there's mutation and it's just there's no intelligent design behind it. But we all know once you get into flat Earth that that's completely wrong, and that is the lie. The other thing that you touched on that I thought was really interesting was oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank, but I know it was there. So you recap for us what you just said. You did the timepiece.
Notes.
Well, one of the things, to give you time to rekindle maybe what that thought, what you wanted to spin with that yarn. What I didn't get a chance to finish the idea when I do introduce the geocentric cosmology to naysayers or to debaters or to heliocentrists or to people who are closed-minded about it, is I just walk outside with them and I have them look up into the night sky. And I explain that this is a beautifully ancient, transcendental, metaphysical timepiece. It's a clock. It's a sky clock. Literally, it's a sky clock.
And a perfect clock, too.
Exquisitely built and with the same finesse as a Victorian timepiece. So why is it that the argument, when you pick up the timepiece and the whole thing about, when you pick up the timepiece, you look at it, obviously it was built by some intelligent being. It's like, well, can't you use the same argument for the sky clock above, which is an exponentially more stunning timepiece than a Victorian time watch? So you can look at not only the sky clock as an example of a creator of divine intelligence, of the fact that we're in the midst of some kind of unbelievably exquisite, distillation of spirit into matter, and that this is a garden that we live in. You could also look at the beautiful dance between this whole thing about like the transgender movement and the gender wars happening, the culture war. You could literally look in the night sky and see the sacred masculine and feminine, the sun and the moon doing a cosmic dance above us. Right. Literally dancing in this beautiful spiraling dance of infinite beauty, ruling the day and the night with all their different masculine and feminine attributes right there imbued within the fabric of this beautiful garden we have is the sacred masculine and feminine, radiating in all its glory, as above, so below. And you could see the same spirit, the same energy field within the sacred masculine and sacred feminine. So here we are in the midst of this culture war. People are questioning this silly notion that gender is a social construct, when really it's a divine manifestation of the creation that we live in. And you can literally see it in the night sky with the sun, the night and day sky with the sun and the moon.
And I thank you. So I remembered what I wanted to touch on, is that we recognize this is a created realm, intelligent design. I love what you're saying about the sun and the moon. The Bible describes it as, his and hers lights in this timepiece, and that God causes the sun and the moon to rise on both good and evil every day, because that's how just he is. He doesn't just pick and choose. He's letting evil unfold. We're experiencing that. But getting back to you and Rob Skiba, I thought it was really great that you said that you experienced patience from him, because there are a lot of those Christians that kind of give a bad rap to other Christians that are saying you got to do it this way and you're not on their timeline, when in fact patience is next to godliness. So when you became a flat earther and you said you experienced that patience from from Rob Skiba, who's very prominent and a huge influence on me and my awakening into this movement, that just gives me more of the hope and peace of mind that this is the truth, because that's how we should behave as people of God, where everyone is waking up to this realization and to truth. And obviously we've come this far to flat earth. I wouldn't say that you have to have flat earth to necessarily be part of God's kingdom, but it's a huge puzzle piece to give you that trust into God that was missing from our lives before. So I just wanted to touch on the patience is so important as a Christian, to just meet people where they're at and to love them and to welcome them into this whole movement and just in any aspect of your life. Patience is so key. So thank you for saying that.
Almost, at least 80% of my favorite content creators and researchers over the last, 6-7 years are hardcore Christians. I can't yell out enough about, say, Zen Garcia, for instance, or even recently with the rise of Paul from Understanding Conspiracy with his Millennial Kingdom series and his Nephilim or Clown series, or even Old World Florida with Dr. Nargo Longo. He's sympathetic to a lot of these. There's just so many really authentically genuine
that guy's awesome,
who are brave enough to have this conversation and talk about all this forbidden fruit and break bread with anybody willing to be open-minded enough to have an open dialogue about this great mysterious tremendum that we live in, and are open to this, as the Platonic great conversation around Plato's fire or whatever, is that overwhelmingly most of them are very either hardcore Christians or Christian friendly or Christian, sympathetic.
Yeah, Allegory of the Cave. That's Plato.
Yeah, Plato's Cave, all that stuff.
Yeah, I fucking love that. It's so esoteric, but a lot of people never even know about it. But
I mean, we're in the midst of Plato's Cave right now. Look at the projections on the walls on Plato's Cave that we think are reality. It's just like.
You want to summarize that for the audience, like Plato's Cave?
Yeah, Plato's Cave is this idea that there was these people kept in servitude, and they were chained, and they would look up at the wall, and the only reality that they would have in their shackles and their servitude was the images that they would project on the walls. And they would get these images with candlelight, for instance, and they'd make different shapes, and they just look at the cave and they'd see whatever the controllers behind them, whatever the slave keepers would project on the wall, and they thought that was reality. That was Plato's Cave. What was projected onto the wall with whoever was behind them with their shackles on, and forcing them to look at the wall and think that was reality. Well, one of the slaves breaks free, and he goes outside the cave, and he looks and he sees the world, and he sees the sun above, and he sees the beautiful, realm that and he comes back in to tell the captives, hey, this is not reality. This is a false narrative. You're being lied to. You're being manipulated. You're being mind controlled. You're being gatekept, etc. And he tries to bring his friends out, and none of them want anything to do with it. They think he's a liar. And they think he's crazy, and they just want to still look at the projections on the walls. So here we are in this reality, in this modern day, Plato's Cave, and everyone's looking at the projections on the walls. They're all held captive with all forms of servitude, not in all forms imaginable, that have nothing to do with being put behind bars. We're all kind of caught up in some prison of the mind. And they look up and they think that the projections on the walls or on the TV screens is reality, when in reality that's not the reality at all.
Yeah, it's if I may summarize a bit, because I actually did it was a requirement for my bachelor's degree to do some sort of a presentation for my English class for Plato's Cave, and I was describing it in the aspect of 2-dimensional versus 3-dimensional. And when you're looking at the wall, and all you see is the shadow of something else, then you're seeing that in a 2-dimensional aspect. And then from there, yes, that's what you perceive as reality.
Atticus, this is our friend Watson.
Hey, can I ask you a question, Atticus? Hey, Atticus, do you know what dreaming is?
What?
Do you know what dreaming is when you dream at night? You know what dreaming is, right?
When you have dreams.
Okay, what is one of your most recent dreams that you can remember?
What's the last dream you can think of? What happened?
I don't know. I think so. I'm so happy.
Oh,
wow, that's
you remember dreaming about being happy?
Yes.
That's nice. I've been having happy dreams lately for the first time in a while. They haven't been complex.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Hey, can I ask you another question, Atticus? Well, what's your first memory ever when you were younger? How old are you?
My first memory, I play Roblox with a computer with my mom.
Plays Roblox.
Was that your first memory?
On the room.
Final question. What's your favorite band right now? Your favorite song?
What's your favorite band? I know the answer to this. What's your favorite band right now?
Queens of the Stone Age.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. I saw the first
dude, he's 6, dude.
Dude, I love that band. I'm sorry.
Came out. I saw their first tour at the Cotton Club, and it's
you're
yeah.
Dude, were you guys into Caius before Queens of the Stone Age?
Yeah, I love stoner rock. I could. Oh wait, what happened?
Actually, I believe it's desert rock.
Yeah, desert rock, sure. Sludge rock, whatever you want to call it. There's a bunch of names for it. But yeah, Caius are great.
I wish you would stop peeing myself.
Yeah. But yeah, we could talk about music. I love some
I can't believe that was his answer. I thought he was going to say something like Corner Chabelle. The fact he said Queens of the Stone Age, I am such a cool dad.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. Oh, and speaking of True Stream Media. They had a huge impact. I've collected every single one of their videos. That one they did on MK Ultra was phenomenal. That 3 or 4 hour documentary.
Oh, there's stuff that they're doing in North Carolina is that they're uncovering so
They
much.
are phenomenal. They're my favorite couples research, team. They are a force to reckon with. I am a huge fan of Truth Stream Media. They can do no wrong. They're phenomenal. I love
They
them.
keep it really solid and straight up down based.
Unbelievably good editing, good content, good research. And when I saw that they did the one on Elon Musk, I'm going to take that in later. But I completely agree. Elon Musk is some kind of agent, operative, clown, stooge, fake narrative bullshit. The guy's a goddamn idiot.
Speaking
So,
of
how do you
Wait, he's one of those black and white clowns. What are they called? What are those? They're like
Nephilim.
sounds like
no,
a-
they're
Nephilim?
not. No, it's not Nephilim, but it's
Well,
a
have
certain
you seen that whole
specific.
series about how that's why
Ralph
people are
Ball
afraid of
and
clowns?
Conspiracy.
Because
He'll
clowns-
give you a download.
No,
on
they
that.
have a specific name, and they're
No,
kind
but-
of based off of that like mime mentality. Like it's a
I
very.
know what you're talking about.
Say,
You know what I'm
hello,
talking about? I forgot the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about.
That's
The
Paul-
no-face people. The no-face people are here too.
Come again.
I don't have my headphones on.
I have are we going to get back to Watson? Because I have a few questions for him still.
Yes.
No, that's fine, but I would like to get this out from under me.
Okay, so how do you reconcile? You said that you think good and evil will kind of be here forever in this realm. Do you think that there's ever going to be? I mean, how do you reconcile evil? How do we push forward? What do you think is going to happen?
We need the 100th monkey syndrome. We need a critical mass of people awakening to natural law and to truth and to the true cosmology. We
Yep.
need an army of truthers climbing the proverbial mountain back to God. We need a revolution of true mysticism, of this true the ability to distill knowledge and truth and logos and gnosis out of this matrix that we're living in. So I think that there's no way we're ever going to be able to annihilate or be free of the darkness. It'll be there, but we can tip the
light.
scale in our favor, and we could be overwhelmingly brimming with the love of God, and the darkness can just recoil to the dark shadows where it belongs. I mean, look at the Tartaria. One of the things I love about the Tartaria, especially the Millennial Kingdom idea, I'm sure a lot of you guys have flirted with that fascinating conversation happening right now in the last few years in the post-Tartaria scene, is that, it's this beautifully poetic notion that there was a 1,000-year reign of Christ, and they built all these beautiful temple complexes, and natural law existed, and they were practicing all kinds of transcendental science with etheric energy and extracting ether, the fifth element, from using all the elementals to extract this beautiful and harness this beautiful radiating energy field, the proverbial fifth element, the source field, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that era was just a 1,000-year reign of beauty and love and compassion and sovereignty and freedom and true anarchy, and everybody was probably glorified beings, brimming with the most unbelievably stunning energy field imaginable. So I think that and at times the dark, even during that era, I'm sure the darkness was in the farthest reaches and the farthest corners of the realm, but it still existed. There was no way you could still get rid of that. So,
But you could teleport out of it.
what do you mean teleport out of it?
You could teleport out of the darkness. Like if light,
No,
you
but
can
the idea is
teleport
that
out
you
of the
don't
darkness.
teleport out of it. You just don't allow it to break. You don't break bread with the darkness. You don't allow it over the door sill of your temple body. It's
And
the
you
whole
could teleport.
Wow, I've never heard it put that way. Don't break
teleport.
bread
Why
with the
not just
darkness.
say you're not welcome? It's a lot easier to be like, no, you should outpass. So the vampiric thing in pop culture is that, you don't want to allow the super handsome, seductive, unbelievably infectiously luring vampire over the door sill of your home.
No,
The
just
Ricos-
teleport
the
away
Ricos
from
of the
them.
world.
Like it's like teleport Tinder. You can
that's
just
not how
teleport away.
darkness works. All you say to the darkness is, you shall not pass this line. You're not
Right.
welcome. You're not welcome in my temple complex. You're not welcome in my home. Not my home, my brick and mortar house, but my temple, my body. No, you're not. You shall not pass, because the darkness needs your free.
Yes,
It
yes.
needs your consent to come in. So all you have to do is say no. No.
Mhm.
no.
Yeah, right. Like
So it sounds like
the
you-
vampiric thing. When I was writing with you guys, we don't have to go into this right now. Actually, I don't want to because it's a deep story.
Okay,
but
so it
you remember
sounds
me
like
telling
you
you about
put-
all my sleep paralysis, shadow demon shit, right? Like how I have like that sleep paralysis thing going on.
I think you would
how do I
have
block
to
it?
become lucid within your dream. You wanted my true advice on this? You
Yes.
have to, you have
No,
to
I want you to give me your false advice.
learn and become a practitioner of lucidity within your dream. You know, everyone wakes up in a dream sometimes, and they become self-aware, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm dreaming." They're conscious, they're lucid within their dream. Just like we become lucid within this reality, we're like, "Oh my God," you wake up into the dream of reality, and you're like, "Oh my, what a fucking, oh my God, what's going on?"
No, I've had that too. But in sleep paralysis, I don't know that I'm dreaming.
Hold on.
I just want to do mushrooms with
in
you.
that realm, and mushrooms,
hold on.
psilocybin, the entheogens help. That's why they're there. They're sacred molecules from the creator to ignite spirit, to ignite the great dialogue, the great conversation. I become the true esoteric mystic Christian philosopher.
I'm scared of that stuff too, to be honest with you.
Is from ayahuasca. Ayahuasca literally awakened, blasted off the proverbial pineal gland, and I gazed.
I've never had a good trip. I'm scared to death
became
of
the
all
true
of
Christian
that.
mystic I am because of DMT and ayahuasca, and because of the
terrified of that.
a very sacred, guarded space because they're extremely sacred and very powerful. And the problem with party culture is when they mix it with cocaine, fentanyl, you're drinking, and you're out at the festival and you're partying and everyone's smoking.
Oh, okay. So it needs to be more of a.
It's a spiritual journey. It's not about being at a rave and sharing.
That's a whole nother conversation. Let's reel it back to your question though, because you asked this question. How do I deal with this sleep paralysis? Well, what I would suggest is if you learn how to become lucid within your dream, you become lucid, and then within that dream realm, you can actually look right at the sleep paralysis and see what's happening, and you can cast it out and say, "You are not welcome in this sacred space of my dream theater, within this sacred realm of you're not welcome here." And you can cast that energy field out of it, and it literally will leave. The darkness will not stay if it's not welcome. Okay, let's go back to Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, what did Gandalf do when he was down in that down in the underworld?
Oh, yes.
The dragon. What did he do? He said, "You will not pass."
Yes.
That's what you say to the darkness. That's what you say to sleep paralysis. That's what you say to everything. You will not pass. Great message to anybody listening, everyone listening. It does. I don't care what kind of issues or victimhood mentality or any kind of trappings that you might have about insecurities about yourself. But I think, though, that you could go into that realm, awaken within it, you become lucid, maybe even astral projected. Maybe you might see some demonic energy field latched onto your body, to your subtle body. I used to do work like that where I would go out and I would clear entities off of people's bodies, parasites off of people's, subtle body, latched onto them, giving them all kinds of issues. A lot of these issues are parasites latched onto, or archons latched onto the back of our heads. And are just sucking off all the fear and the sadness and the depression. That's what we're dealing with here. Is we're dealing with parasites latched onto our metaphysical, spiritual bodies. And you lift out of your body, and you might see one. And what do? You don't freak out. You don't panic. You don't like, "Oh my God." You wake up and you never go in that realm again because it scared the fuck out of you. No, you go up to that creepy little thing and you say, you tell it to leave.
Yeah,
so you're not welcome here.
Hey, real quick, actually, Dr. Bass Ackwards just said something.
In the eyes, and you say, "I see you. I totally see. I'm looking at you in the fucking face." And you go up to it with with a shield of love and care and a sword of light, and, with Christ brimming from your spirit, and you're like, "You will not pass," and it retreats.
And Watson and Grace, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Actually, I think this needs to be a
fantastic night.
two-parter.
I have more questions.
I don't feel like
questions
feel
for
like
next
we're
time then.
Absolutely. The invite, and the spirit and the general message here at the end of all this is everyone choose love over fear and light over the darkness, and you'll find your life exponentially blossoming and expanding and opening up into the 1,000-petaled lotus flower, So
yes.
Go ahead.
And if you have any questions, just go sub Watson's channel.
Hey, look at Bill and Tom.
He will answer.
He just backed me up on doing a part 2 on because I feel like we're only. And I love I don't even feel like we're at the halfway point of this.
No, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is like Watson
let's talk about
podcast.
And by the way, to my crew, the Sombrero crew, I told you this was going to be a fucking killer.
I'm walking on moonbeams and staring out to sea.
Yeah, we can't do hugs, but
I like him giving you guys a virtual hug. I know that you guys all the hugs.
Hey, you know what? Hey, by the way, before we go, hey, mom, nope, pause it.
And tear your curtains down.
no, just keep talking. They can hear you.
Sombrero.
All right. Hey, mom, earmuffs. Cover your ears, mom.
Meet again.
No earmuffs,
Don't know
mom.
where.
Can I say one thing?
Don't
Yes,
know
Grace, please
when,
go.
Keep talking.
But I know we'll
I can't hear her.
meet
Well,
again.
pause the.
Hold
Some
on, I'll
sunny
pause it.
day.
Oh my gosh.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Hey, it's my show.
So just real quick, because I've kind of been sitting back and listening to what everybody's been saying, and it seems like the overall theme is to, like Watson was saying, choose love and not fear. But
Yeah.
it's not just about that. There's always in everybody's life going to be a balance, finding a balance of the light and the dark. The dark's always going to be there. The light is always going to be there, whether one is stronger than the other.
Fuck yeah.
And lead into the light.
Just lean into the light, and when the darkness comes, tell it to just go away. Bye.
Grace, landing the plane.
Breath is the ship, and the tides entwined. Surrender to the letting go of the sorrow within, the exhaling ebb, and to letting in the joy within, the inhaling flow. Ocean breath, heal me with hope, and take us back home. Like a wild turkey caught in a cage, the noose draws tighter when you dance with darkness. Seaside spirits encircle around the unmasked ship. At the Great North Quoddy Head Lighthouse, I cast out my tribulations to the great deep, to the mighty, mighty ocean, to reel in the ever-flowing river of regeneration. As the sacred sea and holy waters illuminate the body temple. To revel ad infinitum in this sacrament of ether. I shall drink deep from the chalice of gilded truth, spiraling inward on the enchanted path upward, to gaze upon the glorified coven of the highest of high.
Sun came up today and it burned my blues away. The sun came up today and it burned my blues away. Time. I hope that's fine. Got my sunshine, I'll get by. Got my sunshine, I'll get by. Got my sunshine, I'll get up today and it blew my blues away. The wind rose up today and it blew my blues away. Go ahead if you have to leave me. You ain't coming back this time. I hope that's fine. Got my sunshine, I'll get by. Got my sunshine, I'll get by. Got my sunshine, I'll get by.
Hey, look at this. Watch this. Watch. Boom. Wait. Oh, yeah, right there. Boom. It's coming out of my butthole. Boom. Let's see that. Boom. Boom. Boom.
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. I say it's alright.